Okay, so welcome everybody to another Lightning Talk. My name is Germán Palacios, and today I'm going to talk about the business models behind digital products. So, um, what do you think of when we mention digital products? Like the usual stuff is related to is related to mobile, digital service, credit, technology, marketing, basically everything that is related to SEO or even thinking about the technology and even thinking about like how we are going to build a digital product. But what we usually do not think about is the business model. So today I'm going to discuss like what the business model is and how this relate to the actual business that is behind the digital product. First, I will start saying that a business is intended to create, deliver, and capture value. And I'm going to talk a little bit of what each of these three means. But what I want to say first is that these three elements are what the business model is all about. So every business has like these three elements, and we are going to see some real life examples. But the digital product enables the business to do so. So the relationship between the business and the digital product has to be purpose that is the delivering of value. But where we are at this point in our economy, based on an OECD paper that was published in January in this year, they stated that we are transitioning towards a digital economy and society. Okay, that's like really not news at all. Like we have that have been working on digital products and that have like evolved with our society in terms of using internet is like no news. But there's another great part of the population that is going over this digital transformation. And just to set the stage and understand like what this implies, there are like some elements that we have to consider and like how we have been here. So first, the exponential increase in processing power, like in all of the devices that we have at our hands, it's basically reducing the size of the computers, and on the other hand, is reducing the cost of the computing. So basically, we are carrying supercomputers in our pockets that can execute a lot of functionalities from phone, camera, voice recognition, location, cloud services. And as you can see on these two graphs, on the one hand, the transistor count has gone like up, like drastically. It is exponential how they have increased, while the size of the processors have reduced again exponentially. And the cost of the hard drive has also reduced. So from the last 50 years, this has been changing over 12 to 24 months. Each 12 or 24 months, it reduces the cost of the hard drive, and on the other side, it increases the process nodes that we have. The other element that has been changing the society and that has been pushing us towards this digital economy is the amount of data that we can exchange between the internet. So basically, the global reach of the internet allow us to have like rapid scaling. And just to have like a one fact that based on, again, on this OECD digital transformation paper, as of 2009, the entire World Wide Web was estimated to contain close to 500 exabytes, so like half zettabyte. What we expect is that on a yearly basis, on 2021, we exchange around 20 zettabytes, like on yearly, between either from the user to a data center, between data centers, and basically using big data. So as you can see, this is like huge amount of information. We are basically doing like every year we're like exchanging information for 40 times all the World Wide Web. So we live in a really connected environment and in a really connected world. So basically, these are the different elements that have pushed us to a digital transformation. But let's try to see like a more real example on how this has transformed not only businesses but also transformed our society. So um, let's talk about 1970. AT&T was a monopoly in the US, or nearly a monopoly in the US. But that moment, and yes, that is the logo that they were using on that moment. They have like 55 million households. Like every day, they transmitted 500 million calls, and in order to be able to do this, they employed 1 million people. So that's kind of really good, right? Because if they are nearly a monopoly, that's something that we can infer that was really good and at that moment. Let's change some 40 or plus years in time and talk about something that is WhatsApp, right? Like everybody knows that. By the moment that Facebook acquired WhatsApp in 2014, they were, of course, a mobile messaging company, and they have like 300 million active users, 50 billion processed messages per day, and they only require 55 people employed on their company. So these are the things that have changed, like the amount of people that we need to achieve these numbers, and the possibility of, or the extent of these numbers is crazy. So a couple of conclusions around like this small this small example. First is that digital products tend to have mainly fixed cost and low marginal cost. So if we create a product, it's all about creating the product and the cost associated to creating it, and to distribute or to increase the number of subscribers is not necessarily that costly. And on the other hand, the firms that sell digital products can possibly scale up faster and more easily than other firms. And this is something that WhatsApp example like helps a lot to understand, because they were serving 300 million active users at that moment, and basically they only require like 55 people. It's not about like having a big company in terms of employees, but about how the digital product enables your business model, and that's where we are heading. Okay, so we now see how these digital products and the technology enables us to have like a more effective business model. But let's get back to the business model itself. So what about the value, and what is value itself? So the value in the business, first I mentioned about the creation of value. The first part of creation value is what does the business offers to their users. So we define the value creation as the perceived benefit to the customer. Either it is a business to customer that enhance the quality of life for a final consumer, or if it is a business to business and it enables or increase the profitability of the company. In both cases, it is all about the perceived benefit to the customer or the company that are using that product. In terms of delivering value, is how does the business fulfill that promise. So it's all about the means, tools, techniques, personnel, and partners that the business requires to make up to their promise. So in this case, digital products are part of those means. that allows the company or the business to deliver that value. But it's not only about making promises and also about fulfilling those promises. It's also about the money, right? Because we're talking about businesses. So capturing the value is how does the business makes money. And this may be obvious in some cases, but it's not only about selling stuff on internet. It's also about how the pricing and the cost structures will have to accommodate to be able to capture enough value for its shareholders. Basically, the business have to deliver this value or have to deliver profit to the shareholders. Otherwise, there is like no long-term viability of the offering. Therefore, the business may be at jeopardy. So again, we like when we talk about the business model, we have three different elements: creating the value, delivering the value, and capturing the value. So what does we offer, how we fulfill the promise, and how we make money out of it. So let's jump into some examples. The first one is Airbnb. So this Airbnb, the promise, the create part of the creation of the value. Of course, they are a community-based, two-sided online platform that, on the one hand, enables owners to lease their space and earn rental money, and on the other hand, provides travelers easy access to renting private homes. Right. So their promise is to feel at home anywhere you go in the world. And they have these standards on their community that are about safety, security, fairness, authenticity, and reliability. So it's all about the experience, but what they are actually doing is connecting two different set of users, the owners and the travelers, and how they deliver this value. Of course, they use the platform, they use the online platform, but part of this online platform and part of how they actually accomplish this security and safety is through the host protection insurance that they offer. And they also allow the users to rating and review, and that's basically how they build trust. It's all about the trust in this example, because basically the owners have to trust someone. In that case, someone is the platform itself, to allow people to go into their own homes. And the travelers are expecting the same. They have to build that trust to make to actually want to go to a private home. When you go to Airbnb, and this is kind of the key for the success of the Airbnb, when you go to one Airbnb, you're not thinking that something wrong can came up, or that it's not necessarily an actual home that you are renting online. You feel safe, and you feel that the home will be there when you get to the place, and that's basically what the trust is about. And the other part of how they are delivering that value is through the profiles and the user reviews. So when you see some reviews of the owner or reviews of the traveler, you start creating a reputation, and that's basically around trust again. So these two elements, even though we are just saying about, or talking about a platform, an online platform, these two elements are key for their success. And in terms of how they capture value, they receive commissions basically from the two sides. They charge or they take a commission out of the host, and they also take a commission out of the guest. So that's basically how they operate. This type of business model is sometimes known as access over ownership model, because you can access the home and not necessarily own a home in the destination that you are going to go as a traveler. So that's one example. Let me jump to another example. Um, that is Amazon. So basically, Amazon has evolved to become an ecosystem. They do tons of things right now. Not only the marketplace, but also like tons of digital services that they offer. But what they have achieved is to become an ecosystem that promises a great customer experience, first of all. and just one-stop shopping platform. Either you want to acquire a server online, or you want to purchase some earphones or whatever you want to purchase. You have like one stop, and that's when you try to think of online purchasing or online shop, you always think of Amazon, and they benefit around that brand strength that they have acquired through the years. They have four different principles. That one is the customer obsession rather than competitor focus. So they think more about the customers and what the customers want or may want, instead of looking other places to see how the competitors are doing. The other element or the other principle that they have is passion for invention. So they and this is something that was written by Jeff Bezos on the last letter to their shareholders. They want to invest on failure. They want to invest like big time in failure, because they know that one of these inventions that may come right, they will have like a lot of business, potential business, out of one that comes out of that comes a successful idea, in comparison to 20 that are just like not great ideas. So that's where the passion for invention comes from. The commitment to operational excellence, that's another part. And the long-term thinking, it is like it is something that has been under their DNA like for a long time. If you go to again to the investors page on Amazon, you will see the latest the latest letter to the shareholders, and just below that the letter that was written again on 1997. And it all in both, they talk about the long term. It's like about being there forever, or again for the long term. So how they deliver the value? Basically, the ecosystem delivers information about prices and quality, while Amazon gets to see the data on all of the activity. So basically, if they provide information to you, but they also are able to capture all of the information that the users, no matter what services they are using, but how the users are basically working with every of these platforms. The other key element is the consumer ratings and the reviews, because that enables fine tuning and identification of new opportunities. Even though I just talk about like investing in failure, they they back up all of their ideas through data. So they have like enough data and enough data analysis, and like big data analysis with, of course, big data, to be able to fine tune either a product is selling good or not, either a product should go into Amazon Prime or not. And that's all about the data. In this case, it's all about the data. And of course, how they capture value, they extract rents from participants in their ecosystem. Why either you want to sell a product on Amazon or you want to buy a product from Amazon, in both cases, they have rents that pay their bills. So that's how this works. And again, this is more known as an ecosystem business model. Some other examples of this ecosystem, maybe Google, maybe Apple, and of course, around those ecosystems could be more open or more closed. Google is all about open in terms of how they operate and like the different standards that they have, while Apple is a little bit more closed. But in all of the cases, it's all about building ecosystem, and that you can go and have tons of different options in around that ecosystem. And finally, the last example here is Netflix. The first part is creating value. And although this is a video streaming platform, they were not always a video streaming platform. That came like I think like 10 or 15 years after they start operating. They started with a DVD, just as Blockbuster, with a great difference. that you were going to be just just paying a fixed amount of money for all of the DVDs that you would like to see or to play at your home. And that's basically where these subscription based models started. They have members that pay a fixed amount of money, but they can watch as much as they want, anytime, anywhere, on any internet connected stream. And that's basically how they evolved. And members can play, pause, and resume watching, all without commercials or commitments. So it's no matter where you want to pause your preferred series, either is Netflix series or not necessarily Netflix, but you can always go back and play again all the time that you want. And the last element is on the recommendations on what to see. They were kind of the first that developed this recommendation-based logic, that based on what you like and what you dislike, it will guide you to some pictures or series that will be more likely to see. Um, this I like recently, this has not necessarily been all like the most strong argument for their creation of value, but again, this was part of how they started and how they deliver value. Of course, this is an online platform, and in compared to Amazon or Airbnb, there's nothing physical here. It's only digital. But this platform relies on three different elements: the streaming services, of course, and when we refer to the streaming service is the protocols that they use to stream, even though you have a sort of slow internet connectivity. The other one is the vast variety of content, of course, and this is where the long tail comes in. They do not want the blockbusters. They are not aiming to the latest in comparison, for example, with the iTunes movies. They want to have tons of elements that you can see, tons of content that you can access. Sometimes, and this is where it may be like where their competitors take some advantage. Sometimes it's too much, but that is how they rely on their business model to have vast variety of content. And finally, the data analysis. They need to know what people are watching. They know what they like, how many times they watch, like the latest trends, like the latest things that people are watching, and where they capture value again from earnings from the subscriptions. That is kind of the key element here. I found out that sometimes they do some product placements. Not was not I was not able to confirm like 100% this was accurate. So that, but it's in some firms and in some papers it mentions that sometimes they do product placement, but it's all about the earnings that come from the subscriptions. That's the where the majority of the revenue comes from. So we have gone through three different examples here, and again, just as a conclusion and just as a reminder, business or digital product, it's enabling the business to be able to create, deliver, and capture value. But what you have to do first, before creating or jumping into creating a digital product, is think about the business model. Think how you are creating value, what the users perceive out of your value proposition, how you will be able to deliver, and this is where the digital product comes into place. And finally, the capturing of the value, how you're going to monetize not only the digital product, but also how the cost structure and how the revenue model will function. So that's basically it in this one. Um, I don't know if there's like any comments or doubts. Yeah, what Gerardo just mentioned is that it will be interesting to see how the internet service providers model works now that we are in a really digital and connected world, and I agree. Basically, just to like the at the top of my head, like internet service providers, of course, they have subscription, and the thing about they is that they are like in the middle of digital products, but also in the middle of the infrastructure, because at the end they have to provide the infrastructure that we use, either they are mobile or fixed lines. In both cases, they have to invest, and they do a lot of investment in hardware and rents and like all the facilities that they need to operate. But yeah, that's another interesting topic. Thank you, Gerardo. Okay, so thank you, everybody, and we are going to stop the broadcasting now, and see you on the next one.